It sounds like a Yoda with with congestion there. Years and I have bad congestion.
That's actually me doing Chevy Chase clearing his throat during the test taking scene of Spies Like Us.
Oh,
he's trying to get Dan Aykroyd's attention. He's like, and he starts going, ah! Ah! And Dan Aykroyd's like, what?
Yeah.
I love that movie. God, I love that movie.
Welcome to Pause Button with Storytime Gamer and Bob,
a weekly podcast covering gaming news, reviews, and all things geek.
I'm your host, Storytime Gamer, also known as Eric, and I stream a variety of games on my YouTube channel, StorytimeGamer.com, with a focus of story-driven games, role-playing, and horror. I also love anything from 80s and 90s pop culture.
And I'm Bob, bringing you games you can chill to. Survival crafting, factory management, and open-world RPGs. Anything you can play while listening to a podcast, an audiobook, or watching Netflix.
Send us your thoughts, ideas, and reactions to emails at pausebuttongaming.com. If you haven't already, subscribed to the podcast so you always have the latest episode for when you need to step back from life and press pause.
All right, let's get to the show. Eric, I'm distracted today, I'm not going to lie.
Why were you distracted today?
Okay, I'm going to tell you why. Because before we were getting ready, I decided I needed to run this one little errand. There's this charm that I needed to bake. And so I ran over my base. And I was making a charm.
What game?
I'm gonna get there. Grounded.
Okay.
I'm completely obsessed with it. I found out I had to make pond moss. I was like, I know where pond moss is, but pond moss wasn't where I thought it was. It's in a different pond. And I went over there. I swam to the bottom to get the pond moss, but I need a level 3 dagger. And a level 3 dagger, you have to kill black widows, and black widows are super hard and super scary. But I can only cheese them, which means I find a way to get them to glitch out on the terrain, and I pelt them with arrows.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that's my whole thing. I glitch every enemy in the game. That's how I play it. But now I got this whole progression of chores I need to do after the podcast is over. So I can go get my, it's called Sarah's Charm. It combines 2 powerful charms. Yeah. Once I get it, I'm going to be totally OP. Yeah.
You're totally OP. And have you figured out how to unshrink yourself yet in the game?
That's interesting because, yes, I know how it happens. That's kind of the main mission. That's like the main progression of the game.
Right,
I am almost certainly not going to do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably not going to finish this game.
Enjoy the world instead of the story that was given.
No. I am enjoying the story quite a bit. I'm not going to finish it because I don't want it to end.
Oh.
I got my base, my beautiful base, and my character. I don't want the game to end.
You know, sometimes I do. I've noticed I sometimes do that with a original series, like on Netflix or somewhere where you can binge it. It's so good. You're like, I'm down to the last episode, and all of a sudden, it's like not necessarily binge fatigue, but it's kind of like it's so good. There's somewhere deep inside me that just doesn't want to finish it.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, okay, I'll step away and just not touch it. And it's because it's so good. It's like, all right, I don't want that feeling to go away. It's still there, so it's like I'm still watching it. So I get it. Cool.
Well, and this is one of my favorite things to do in survival crafting games. When you can build a base, like you can do this in Green Hell, the Amazon jungle survival game. You can build a base. Well, you put like a lot of your creative energy into, you know, I built this base in such a way it can't be attacked. It's multi-level. It's got all of the stuff that I need. And I don't want it to go away. So I'm just going to leave it in the game. No
new game plus?
I don't want to start over. No, I don't think there's a new game plus, but I don't want to start over. I have started this game over 4 times. And now that it's out in 1.0, I'm not starting over again. We'll get into that a little bit more in what we're playing, but you want to jump into the news here?
Yeah, I'll jump into the news. So Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is about to be released, and the newest commercial, it's gotten some scrutiny, and I'm kind of with the scrutiny here. Have you had a chance to look at this? Have you looked at this commercial yet?
I wish I could unsee it, but yes, I've seen it. I am, and I am now dumber for having seen it.
Okay. Oh, I feel like that too. I feel like they've missed the mark on their audience and what they're trying to show. It's like one of the best comments I was reading was how this game was. Well, let me see if I can find it if it was in here. But basically, a comment was saying that, wow, good job on, just really patronizing to the young crowd there, or trying to be like, yo, it's cool, yo, trying to be as cool as possible, but you're not cool at all. It's like, just like that kind of adult trying to talk to kids and act cool, but it's like off the mark.
I'm at my mama's house and I've got nothing to do. It's like the vibe.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to start dabbing and like I don't know what all that entails, and it's like I'm trying so hard, you fail.
Super cringe, as my daughter would say.
Pete, yeah, cringe. That is the word. Pete Davidson, Nicki Minaj, other celebrities are going to squad up, but it's like these millionaires, people with all this, their disposable income is being spent and shown how it has been spent on all this extravagant things. And it's like, okay, why are you playing Modern Warfare 2? Which means, it's great. It's open for everybody, but I feel like it's not the core group, and it doesn't make me excited to play the game. It looks like we just got into a weird music video.
Yeah.
And nothing to do with the game or want me to squad up as they're trying to get me to do. It makes me like, ew, I don't want to squad up.
I'll grant that maybe there's an audience that it's not me. I don't play Modern Warfare, so they're obviously not marketing me, so that's fine. Maybe they're hitting the mark with their core people. I don't care. What bothers me about this is they don't ever show the game.
What? No, they don't. Well, they don't need to, because there's already the cinematic trailers, which I love the cinematic trailers.
What?
Yeah, those are great. What they should have done is what they've done in the past campaigns, where they have they have celebrities show up and they're like all in the modern world. They're all in a multiplayer game.
It's crazy.
But, as their avatars. It's like Jonah Hill shows up.
It's like
you remember that commercial?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, what is it like?
Oh, it's like if Ford comes out with a new Ford Mustang and everyone's like, what does it look like? Because, what else is there about a car you'd want to see besides what it looks like? And they have a commercial of like, oh, we're not going to show you what it looks like. We're going to show you what it feels like.
That kind of advertising?
That's what this feels like. It's like, this is the vibe this game's throwing off. Not,
right.
That you're going to have a drone now that you can fly around. I don't know. It just, what the hell?
It's a hype video. It's something like, okay, what else can you add to a Call of Duty shooter when it's like, okay, this is the same shooter every year, they get a new shooter out with multiplayer. What's new? I want to see if there's a zombies campaign. I have heard zilch about a zombies campaign, because to me that was the coolest thing that came out. Like, oh, that's a great little side thing. And I haven't seen anything, and I'm wondering if it's like they're quietly trying to say that they don't have one. I don't know. We'll have to see, I guess, when it releases. I want to play it. I like the campaign for Cold War. That was a really good story campaign. I liked World War II.
The graphics are crazy.
Oh yeah, it looks so good. It
looks incredible.
And I mean, that's what's enticing me. Again, that's just me. And also, speaking of other things that are just kind of, I don't know, wrong market or something. I mean, how about this? Would you pay $1,500 for a pro version of a VR device?
I mean, when the right games are out, I would. There's just not enough games.
Right. So if there's like no games, no nothing, it's like two things you'd probably play. Would you pay $1,500 for a VR device?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's the price point for Meta's $1,500 VR devices, like the Pro. Excuse me, the Quest Pro.
Yeah, it's a very expensive toy. I have paid more for gaming equipment. There's no question. Is it good enough? And is there enough to do with it to justify such an expense? I don't know.
Right. Is it that immersive? That's going to have to be one of those things, like you kind of need to put it on to see if it's any good. Because you could just put on what the Quest right now and be like, this is great. And unless this thing's like me jacking into the Matrix, I don't want to spend $1,500 on it. Thank you.
According to this article, you can use Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and Excel through a partnership with Microsoft. So I can't. Ooh, wow. I do a lot of Excel work in my day to day, and this means I could live in the Excel document. Amazing.
Right. I bet this is actually aimed towards the corporate side that they're trying to push it on.
Imagine the possibilities when the physical and digital worlds can finally interact seamlessly without you craning your neck to look down at a phone. You ever get neck cramps from looking down at your phone? You won't have that problem.
Yeah, never.
In VR, you won't have to look down. I mean, you'll have to wear this heavy thing on your face, but you won't get that neck strain from craning your neck to look down at your phone.
Does it have a, weight displacement so I don't feel like that? Does it work with my Apple devices? I don't think it does.
Craning your neck.
So there's that little fun thing. And then apparently also Gotham Knights, that comes out soon as of this recording. And apparently there's spoilers already leaked. Ooh, no, spoilers. It was through, let's see, how did this came about? I think it's already been pulled off because I hate spoilers. But for this game, I'm kind of like, okay, what could it be such a big spoiler? Because I already hypothesized so many other things that could be a spoiler. And I don't know, did you want to talk about the spoiler or not?
I'm not going to play this game, so you're welcome to spoil it for me.
Okay, so the whole idea is that we know Bruce Wayne's been killed, and that's why we have the 4 ragtag, Bat family characters. Well, you bring in the Lazarus Pit with Ra's al Ghul, so resurrect him, and so there's apparently something somewhere that was leaked about Batman being a boss in a boss fight because he's been resurrected by the Lazarus Pit. Which, to me, I'm like, I already hypothesized something like that happening, possibly, but also I feel like that Bruce Wayne might be the leader of the Court of Owls. That's not in this thing, but that's how I feel like this is going to go. It's really hard to say, oh, it's Batman Gotham Knights, or just calling it Gotham Knights about Bat, but not have Batman in it, having him dead. That's a really hard thing to push. And I imagine they're like, look, now you can play as Batman through the campaign. It's going to happen.
Let me put a question to you. I listened to a great episode of MinMax this week, and they were doing kind of a fun game where you predict what the Metacritic score is going to be. So what Metacritic score do you predict that this game is going to get?
Now, define Metacritic again. That's when all the critics, not the players, correct?
No, this is a player. Metacritic is the aggregation of critic scores. You're right. I think there is a player score.
There is a player score. So Metacritic, I bet it's going to be a 6.
Oh, out of 10?
Yeah, 6 out of 10. Okay. I think. What is the score? What is the score rating on Metacritic?
I think it's out. I think it's out of 100%. I think
so. 65%.
Wow, you think it's going to be 60? I was going to say 75. So you okay?
That's generous.
Now it seems generous. I thought you were going to rate it higher.
Well, here's the thing that's going to happen. It's going to be compared to all the Arkham, the Arkham games. It is, and it's been trying to be defined as not a sequel to the Arkham games. It's hard not to say it's not one of the Arkham games when it's coming from WB still, and it's got similar fighting and mechanics and gameplay that's in those. We already have the Suicide Squad game coming out, which I'm excited about. That's supposed to be in the same Arkhamverse as the Batman Arkham games. So we're already going to be comparing it to that, but we also had so many great, we've had Spider-Man come out between all that. So we've already had a great superhero fighting game like that too. Open world fatigue. So all these things that are going to come, as a comparison to where we are in the gaming lands universe to compare it with. And then we had Elden Ring come out as a great open world game. Granted, the people that are playing Elden Ring are not necessarily going to be Gotham Knights people and vice versa. So I feel like it's going to have a lot. It's having a lot against it already. And they keep pushing those videos and like, look at the game. And it's like, okay, well, I don't know how I feel about it. I've been turned off by the game.
It's hitting people as very mid, as the kids say. And on this podcast, they said something you and I said a few weeks ago. They said, looking at this game, it throws off this vibe of free-to-play, microtransactions, spend $5 for a new cape feel. It just has that feel about it. And people don't want that. They will probably drop a lot of money on it, but...
Oh yeah, and it's like, oh, look at me, and here's my avatar, and let's play together. And it's just like, this isn't Fortnite. This is not Fortnite. This is this is supposed to be like some sort of story-driven Arkham game, but really it's until I get to play it. But also from the reviews that I've heard people play it, like the story is people are being left without anything, and I feel like this might be one of those MASH projects that meant to be so many things but couldn't get it all together.
Yep.
So I don't know. So there's that. I think 60%, 65% Metacritic. Anyway, so there's that. Now, one interesting fan made a a Simpsons joke that was 20 seconds long become a fully fledged game. Remember the movie Waterworld?
Yes. This is great.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
I love that movie. It got so slammed by so many people, but it is a fun movie. I mean, I need to watch it again. Maybe that's changed, but I always feel like that is a good movie. So that there was apparently a joke where it was Nelson playing in The Simpsons. Nelson's playing in an arcade and has to put in like all these quarters just to play Waterworld arcade game, and he like takes 2 steps and then dies.
Yeah.
Similar to like Dragon's Lair, where you put in all this money and they're like, oh, you're dead in 2 seconds because you didn't do the right action. Anyway, you can play the whole game now, and it's funny. I watched someone play it. You have to start off the game by putting in all the quarters you need to start the game, and then you just kind of walk from left to right and do stupid up and down motions, and you go through the story, and there's some weird new characters and bosses you fight. So it's entertaining to see.
What's crazy about this game is if they had this game when I was a kid, I had a PC at home and we had these big 5-inch floppy disks that you could get from the school and you could plug them in. They'd have games like this on them. If I had this game, I would thought it was the best thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I agree. If we, and that's the thing is times change. If I saw a game like that, it'd be amazing back in the day. Elden Ring had a new patch. And there's apparently some data miners found some information about some DLC in it.
Bring it.
So that'll be interesting. The patch was a big balance between PvP and the main game, because apparently, like they're trying to break builds for PvP matches, but then, but also try not to break them for the main game, which is that's a good thing. So it nerfs things when you're fighting people versus not fighting people. And I think it was smart. But but there's apparently the indications on just new maps. It's like there's they're talking about there's new maps possibly in their new legacy dungeon, new area, stuff like that. I'm curious to see what happens. I imagine maybe by February we'll get that information, or maybe by Christmas. The holidays, we'll get like, hey, DLC's coming out in a month or two, and then I'll be loading back into play, back to the lands between.
The people demand new content for Elden Ring. We demand it.
Oh yeah, well, people are still playing it, discovering. Oh, we must have it. No, it's going to happen. Oh, and I have another article about Meta. Apparently, and this is so stupid. So there was a video when they were talking about the Oculus, or the Quest, the Quest. And Zuckerberg has his avatar and he's got his feet moving around and he's jumping and kicking. And it's like, oh, wow, looking like, this is what we want. It's fake. It's pre-rendered animation, all this stuff. I'm like, of course it is. And, it's stupid of the company to be like, hey, look at what you can do. No, you can't do that yet. Eventually, we should be able to do it. But it's kind of like you're trying to get your footing back, but it's already such, I don't know. Anytime that Facebook says something or something about the Quest, it's like, oh, shut up. I don't care anymore. Y'all are just losers, but somehow y'all are making a lot of money.
They're spending a lot of money. Zuckerberg needs to quit putting himself in these things. He's so out of touch.
Yes.
He's so out of touch. I mean, you see this and you're like,
he's out of touch.
Having a great time playing around in this billions of dollars that he's spending. Oh man! There was an article out this week about how internally the development team, like the managers, were mad because Facebook employees weren't using Meta. Like They expect them to be using it day to day, and so they started setting quotas. Like everyone has to use it, and it's like, guys, if you have to make people use it, if they don't want to use it,
right? No,
you got a problem on your hands.
I did. Right, I did see that. I was just like, oh yeah, no. That's what's wrong here. It's like we spent all this money. It's like with your kids. No, I spent money on this, and you're gonna play with it, but I don't want to. It's stupid. No, you will do it. That's what that mentality is. Instead of just trying to figure out how to fix it.
I know the day will come where I have to attend a professional meeting, and I'm sitting on a virtual conference room, and everyone is a cartoon head. I guess that day's coming.
That's fine.
But they'll be like, yeah. And I'll be like, can I just like zoom in? They're like, no, you need to get, my new boss will be like 22 years old. And we're like, no, you need to get on.
Bored Ape NFT for their avatar.
Yeah. Right. I won't even know what he looks like. It'd just be like a talking ape head.
Yep. It's going to be your NFT.
Oh my God.
And all that. So that's the future. The future. NVIDIA cancels its cheapest new PC graphics card, leaving only the expensive huge ones. The 12 gig RTX 4080 was planned to launch next month for under $900, which is already, that's like a computer in itself. So, but apparently they took that off the plate, and I bet it's because of just chip shortage and prices and parts, that continuous problem. They decided to just cut it and just try to get more money out of the expensive ones.
Yeah, it's interesting. So many games that we're playing these days don't need a super high-end graphics card. They just don't need them.
No, a lot of games I'm playing with my new gaming PC are doing just fine. And it's not like the top tier graphics card in there. I don't even know which one it is, but I know it's not the top tier. And it's doing just fine on all the stuff. I mean, Mortuary's Assistant, it bogged down in one section, but I also had it on a certain high fidelity. So I was like, all right, I'll just tone it down next time. But yeah, no, we're getting to that point. It's interesting that they announced it, had a big old show about it. I'm like, okay, we're not doing that anymore. Bye. Yeah.
I am greatly enjoying my 3080 Ti that I bought last year. I can run every game on Ultra. They look great.
Yeah.
And, they're going to have to come out with games that I can't run before I want to spend more money on a graphics card.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like the whole question back in the 90s, early 2000s. Can it run Crysis?
Yeah.
That was always the joke. But now it's like everything can kind of run, which is a good thing. Yeah. You need a plateau when it comes to graphics and equipment, because then when you're spending so much money ever so often to get the latest game, then
I think Unreal 5 engine is going to get us there. I've seen so many things in there that, yeah, if I can get a game that looks like that, I'll drop some money on a graphics card, and I'll probably will need to.
Yeah. No, I like, and this goes back to the whole thing about when is next gen now? Where is all my Unreal 5?
Yeah.
We need that now.
When will then be now?
No. Even though there's a lot of PC games that are just, that trying to be the whole, or a lot of other games that are trying to be a demake almost, whole retro style, things like that. So I find it interesting how, and then they still use a lot of graphics. It's like, why do you need so much graphic power, dude? I don't understand. But speaking of graphics and updates, Dead Space, the new Dead Space remake, it had some more gameplay pop up, and I watched it, and I'm excited. They're kind of putting some cut scenes, over the shoulder, no cut scenes in it, like they did with Dead Space 2 and 3. Except it feels off.
Yeah,
like the gameplay feels off.
Really?
Between his walking, his gunplay, there's something off. And I don't know what it is. He walks fast. It's not as lumbering as it used to feel. And it's different. And I know it's not like you want to have the same animations you did for the first two games, but it feels like there's something off.
It looks fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, it looks great. Graphics look great. It just something feels off with the way the gun works. It doesn't feel the same way as it did in the first one. And maybe that'll go away once I start playing it.
Yeah.
And I won't think about it anymore.
Yeah, and you're just coming off a replay of Dead Space 2, I believe. And so maybe it's fresher in your mind.
Yeah, but I mean, a good example is I played all the original Gears of War games, 1, 2, 3. Really liked them. But then in 4, they decided to change or was it 5? I think it was 5. They changed the reload bonus hit. Like everything else feels the same, except whenever you hit there's a timer for the Lancer gun, and when you hit it, you get a bonus in your reload, and you get a more powerful shot. They changed the timing on it, and it pissed me off. Such a small little mechanic, and you decide to change the timing on it?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Or even Halo 4 felt off. It's not the same people, and there was just something that felt off about some of the guns and mechanics, and it's like, okay, this is hard to get into. I eventually got into it, but it still feels off, and it has like a bad taste in my mouth, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Well, that's it for my little news articles. What you got?
Got a couple interesting things. I did not read very much news this week, and we'll get into the why here in a bit. But my kids were both talking to me about Minecraft Legends. They asked me if I'd seen the trailer for it. It comes out in the spring. They were really excited. So I checked it out. Now I put many, many hours into Minecraft with my kids and had a lot of fun with them. This looks really interesting. This is a game I think I would enjoy playing with them. So I'm hoping when it comes out, the three of us, myself and my kids, will play it together. It feels a little bit like a Diablo-like, some dungeon crawling. It looks like there's some RPG elements to it. And it's in this beautiful Minecraft world. It's almost like it feels like a cel-shaded Minecraft. It's pretty. It's still cubes and stuff, but it looks good. I don't know. Did you run across this in any of your news consumption this week?
I saw the video trailer in a thumbnail on YouTube, but I didn't watch it. So I will take 2 seconds to quickly look at it if you want to keep talking.
It's it's like a 45-minute. You have to kind of dig into it and find the places where they show gameplay because there's a lot of talking. But yeah, you there was something quick that I saw on online. It was like a minute and 40 seconds. Here's a official trailer I found. This next one is a little bit of a troll on you because I thought this was interesting. I always find the economics of games interesting, especially when it comes to the community behavior. And this is Diablo 2 Resurrected forum trading blamed for Diablo 4 changes. Okay, so do you know what forum trading is?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I didn't really know what it was, but essentially, things that you can't buy and sell in game, people just created their own economy for. They created their own marketplace. They created their own currency out in these forums or these forum points where you could buy stuff. And so people are going around. This is capitalism at work. They're going around creating this whole economy around these in-game items, and then showing up. People with money are showing up totally maxed out, and people are all pissed off, and they're blaming. And this is all in Diablo 2 Resurrected, but it's impacting the way they're designing Diablo 4. So they're mad, and I find that really interesting. But the thing that I thought was cool in here is they're talking about how they can adjust for this, and they talk about this SSF playstyle, solo self-found. So it's interesting to me. What if you could solve this problem not by trying to suppress the economy or sue people or anything like that, but just put a tag or a filter. If you're going to play multiplayer, just say, hey, I only want to play with people whose equipment is SSF. Basically, they got themselves. So the minute you buy something, it tags it. Hey, if you buy something, you can only play in servers that are non-SSF, right? And some people may want that. Let's go into a crazy non-SSF world where I'm playing with all kinds of maxed out people, or I want to play with quote unquote real people. Solving it that way lets everybody have their way, and I think that's cool. If I have money and I want to go blow it on dumb stuff in Diablo and max my character out, fine. I can play with other people that do the same thing, but don't let me ruin the game for people who don't want to play that way. Just make options so we can play the way we want. I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah. No, yeah. No, should be that way.
So, I mean, I couldn't help but I think this is what people are worried about with NFTs in games, that you create financial incentives and then you get those unintended behaviors that change the game for people. And this is the first time I looked at it and thought maybe there are ways to address that. Let the people that want to do that without impacting everybody else.
True, and that also the developers have to think of a way or something like, okay, here's, say, you think of it like the golden ticket approach. So you've only have X amount of legendary epic items in the game. And that's all there will ever be. And it's your fault as a player to keep buying and trying to get the golden ticket. And then if you get the golden ticket, you could sell it if you wanted to. But I think it's the game developers and the gamers all have to figure out a cohesive place when it comes to a game like this versus like a card trading game.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that it's not NFTs in gaming doesn't necessarily have to be a thing for every game. But I think when it comes to anything with a loot box or anything like one of those random things, those should be NFTs. Or even if it's not necessarily an in-game currency, but things like that. It's kind of already, it just needs that functionality of what an NFT and the blockchain offers. But that's my opinion. Anyway.
My last article, this is just another interesting one because I'm not a Bayonetta player. I've never played it. But the original voice actress is urging people to boycott the game because she was offered so little money to do the voiceover for Bayonetta 3. You ever played Bayonetta?
I played the first one and I enjoyed it. And I love Jennifer Hale. She's a great voice actress.
Yeah, so apparently her name is Helena Taylor and she's got a great voice. There's a video here where she explains why she's suggesting a boycott of the game. But apparently they offered her...
The original.
They offered her $4,000 to do the voice work. And she was so insulted by that. She said, no, I'm not going to do it. So they said, fine, we'll go get Jennifer Hale. And so she's saying that this is, while it may be legal, it's immoral for them to have offered her this little money.
Right. Yeah, because it's such an iconic character. That's like if you went to James Earl Jones and said, okay, we're going to do, you've got a couple lines here in just this one, Rogue One. You got a couple lines. We're going to give you $4,000 to do it. I doubt he got $4,000 to do that.
Here's what I find interesting about this. Is if you went to James Earl Jones and said, hey, we'll give you $4,000 to do this voice, he would go, no. And you'd go, well, how about 5,000? He'd go, no, you're not even close.
Right.
Keep going higher. He would just say no. What's interesting here is, okay, so they offered her this money. It's not like she did the work and then they didn't pay her.
Correct.
They made her an offer and she said no. And now she's going out and saying, it would be like you offering that to James Earl Jones. And then instead of James Earl Jones just saying no, he goes out on Twitter and says, I'm so insulted that Eric only offered me $4,000. I want you to boycott his product.
Well, it comes down to it's a classic. It's a cult classic game. Voice actors don't always get paid well for, and that's unfortunate. And then most of the time when they work on a project, they don't even know what they're voicing. So that's one thing too. So if you're like, well, I'm the voice of this character, that's, how many takes, how many hours of doing that in the studio. $4,000. I wouldn't be able to compare that to anyone else, but I'm sure $4,000, does that mean there's also some kickback from sales of the games too? Who's your manager? Do you not have a manager? If you're self-managing, then that's kind of your fault.
Yeah,
as well.
$4,000 is obviously low, and who knows what they're paying Jennifer Hale? I'd be surprised if they're only paying her $4,000.
But also, here's the thing: there's a new trailer that came out for Bayonetta 3, that's been wanted for years and years. Looks like they're trying to throw in other characters for you to play as, so it's not you're not playing as Bayonetta the whole time. So I could see, okay, we're going to pay you $4,000, okay, for Force Awakens. All right. Mark Hamill, we're paying you $4,000 to show up for one little scene at the very end of the movie. Will you do it? Sure. $4,000 for a 1-day shoot?
Yeah,
how often do you make $4,000 for 1 day? This voice actress could have been offered you're the voice of Bayonetta, but really you're not much in the game. You're just here for a 30 minutes of work, honestly, or
I don't know,
a whole hour's worth of recording.
I almost always side with the employees and workers over corporations, almost always. But in this case, there are people working on this game. There are developers that they didn't do anything wrong, and because she didn't like her offer, she's telling people to boycott the game. I don't know. It's like, wow. I mean, seems extreme.
Yeah. It could be extreme. As I said, I wish there was more to know about it, because those are the questions that get offered, and obviously, they decided to skip out because they knew, it wasn't worth it, or not to offer more money.
They have their reasons,
because it's like, okay, if it comes out like, oh well, Bayonetta's only in here for a few seconds, and this work was going to be just one, a day, an hour's worth of recording session for 2 or 3 lines from one character, then that's a lot of money. But I can understand if, say, she's a voice actress, she doesn't get much work, and she's really needing more money, and then all of a sudden, bam, she's insulted. So I don't know. It could be that cry of voice actors not getting paid enough for their work, or it could be just very petty because they didn't want to work with her more and went with Jennifer Hale. So the question is, how much is Jennifer Hale getting paid?
Yeah, I mean, what difference does it make if they want to pay Jennifer Hale $100,000? What? I don't know. I don't understand why they have to explain themselves to everybody. They can offer whatever they want.
No, they shouldn't have to. There's a whole thing, and I bet if you look at voice actors, especially known ones, they work all the time. So you have to wonder how much they make per recording session, and especially if it's a voice that you hear everywhere, it's like, okay, they must make a lot of money, or they make a standard rate, and that's what it is. Regardless of what character they're voicing, they get that rate and they get paid and they keep working. I don't know. So I'm on I can't be like, oh yeah, boycott the game. There's everybody, as you said, everybody else who worked on that game too. And just because you weren't happy with the $4,000, then you should have had someone, your agent or someone else help negotiate here.
I don't know, man. I thought it was interesting. I find that kind of the some of the background stories behind how games are made to be interesting, and this is one of them.
Yeah, just to go on a tangent before we move on, like when Futurama was talking about being rebooted, and then Joe DiMaggio was like, "No, I want more pay for Bender," which absolutely iconic voice, and this may be part of that tail end of it. And I agree. If you can't replace Bender's voice. And so if Bayonetta is such an iconic character, you get the original voice actor in. Don't screw with the fans, because the fans will be pissed and won't buy your game too.
Well, but see, that's the calculation that the company made. Is they could say they could say Helena's voice is so important to this game that we have to pay her more. They didn't decide that. They were like, nope, Jennifer Hale will do. Right. She's great. Right. And so they've decided that she sounds like it, and if it's there for 2 seconds, bam, that's it. Yeah.
It all depends. Like okay, last little tangent. I've been listening to these great audio dramas that are on Audible about the Aliens movies and actually Aliens books. And one of them, it's got Ripley in it, and they hired a voice actress that sounds just like Sigourney Weaver. When I first listened, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Sigourney Weaver. Like, no, that's not her. It's someone else.
Yeah.
So they hired a Sigourney Weaver sound-alike to be her character, Ellen Ripley, and it's amazing. So it's not like, Sigourney Weaver got pissed off that, don't listen to the Audible book because they didn't hire me. They got someone else to do it.
Now, I am a Sigourney Weaver stan. I will do whatever she says. If Sigourney Weaver comes out and says, boycott this game because they did a sound-alike on my voice, I am in the army of Sigourney Weaver. I will follow her orders to the letter.
But I bet she's got a good manager that helps out with that negotiation. Like, it's Sigourney Weaver, darling. It's Sigourney Weaver. Do good for her. That's how I imagine most managers talk like.
That is a voice I haven't heard from you. You have many voices. I have not heard your.
I do.
Your Hollywood manager. No, they're L.A. LA
do
manager voice. That's
baby,
great.
darling, do good for her. It's Sigourney Weaver. You wanna do it. It's good.
Oh, that's great.
All right. So games
great.
we're playing. What
Tell
have
me.
you've been playing Grounded?
Oh my God.
Talk to me more.
Oh my God, Eric, it's so good. Yeah, I told you I was going to Sherpa you through it. I know it's not your type of game.
Yeah.
This game, it's perfect for me. It is a survival crafting game. It's a huge open world. It's this beautiful, just gorgeous. You know, you're shrunk down. You're in a backyard, and I spent an hour last night trying to figure out how to get on top of a lawnmower. You know, underneath the lawnmower, there's like spider webs. I found an anthill under the lawnmower but then I realized, the handles of the lawnmower go way up to the fence, and I can see up there's a vine, and above that is a little glowing thing that I need to get. And so I'm like, I had to build a little structure so I could get on the wheel, and then I had to climb up on the rim and go around, and then you finally go up the handle. So they're crawling all around this backyard that's got all these incredible like objects. Like there's a baseball I built my base on top of because I knew the spiders and stuff couldn't get up there. But dude, I have been so obsessed with this game since 1.0 came out. I've been get up at 4 a.m. so I could play it before work and get a couple hours in. I installed mods on this one. I'm playing it on PC because I've played through this game 3 times. And so I've installed mods that do things like let me carry more at one time. So I don't have to grind as hard. It's like when you're building bases, you build them out of grass stems. You got to go cut down the grass, chop, 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 and then you get 4 grass stems. You carry them up to your base and you put them down. The last 3 times I've played this game, I can only carry 4 grass stems at a time. Actually 5. But with the mods, I can carry 50. So I can go down there and chop down all these grass,
Jesus.
take all 50 stems up. I can build like a whole bottom to my base. So it speeds everything up, So I've had a lot of fun playing with the mods. Yeah, dude. And it's got serious creep factor, which we'll talk about in our scariest bosses segment. Okay. But I will never forget playing this with my daughter 2 years ago for the first time. I took off a week of work, and we saw a wolf spider asleep. And we'd never seen one before. That's creepy. And in the game, they're like 3-4 times bigger than you are as the player. And I have serious arachnophobia. And so my daughter, she sees it, and she's like, "What's that?" And I said, "It's a wolf spider." She said, "What should I do?" I said, "Well, go kill it." So she walks over. It's like, it's kind of crouched down. It's asleep. She whacks this thing. It turns around, and it's as the gamer, it's enormous, and it just gets on you, and it's so fast and big. Even now, I can 2-shot a wolf spider with some of my weapons that I've got, and I dread if I see one. I know I have to kill it. It fills me with dread having to go do it.
It does it. They're creepy crawler. Oh yeah, they're kind of looking creepy. Yeah, I just pulled up an image. Now, that kind of reminds me of like if you're playing Left 4 Dead and you have someone new with you, like, hey, there's a witch. Go up to her and hit her.
Yeah. Oh, she jumped so far off that seat when that spider came around. She jumped out of her seat.
a pretty creepy. The spider of those spiders, like, that's pretty creepy. No, I get it. Man.
You watch a YouTube video of someone fighting one because, okay. They're creepy.
I will have to do that in a little bit then. Well, I've been playing Viscera Cleanup Detail. Have a couple videos posted about that.
Yeah, what's that all about?
It's an older game. And I think it's a game you would like.
Really?
Because it's it's before. It's funny because it's like a few years old, but think Power Wash Simulator, but with gore, viscera, body parts, and things like that. So you're like a janitor, and you're on like these sci-fi locations where people have died and been mutilated, and corpse body parts are everywhere. Hearts, organs, entrails. You have to go in, you have to clean up all the entrails and body parts, mop up all the blood off the walls and the floors and the ceiling, get rid of all the trash, and you have to clean up so the next, like, your scientist or whoever can go back and go in. So it's chill because it's kind of dark humor. It's not like there's going to be a jump scare or a monster coming up. It's got some creepy environments. But it's kind of fun. So I played 2 levels so far, because some of them you can do co-op on it, but there's some levels that are like, say like 2 hours or 4 hours to do. So I imagine you have to take a break and pause and come back and finish it. But I did one where it's like it's exactly the Event Horizon ship from Event Horizon. And they actually there's like little thumb drives of people's data and stuff. And I found one that said Sam Neill on it. So it's like, okay, so they made a nod to Sam Neill, Dr. Sam Neill. And it's really cool. Really, I like it because it's got the blood and gore. And like you can accidentally spill the blood bucket as you're cleaning, because your bucket will slowly get full of bloody water. So you have to go get a new one. And then it's fun. And I was enjoying that. And there's actually a download for a haunted house level 2, except it's like 4 hours long. But I think I might do a recording of me just playing a little. And I did do a full level, but I apparently didn't clean it enough because they fired me. So I got all the blood. I got all the gore.
I need to
find. Yeah, you should check it out.
I need to find a video of you playing it.
Yeah, look on storytimegamer.com. It's one of the recent ones. There. But the biggest game that came out, it just came out 2 days ago, finally, on Game Pass, as well as all the other, Xbox and PC stuff. Scorn.
Yeah, tell me about that.
I have a gameplay of that today coming out as this, yesterday, I should say, when this gets released. It's like, what's the best way to think? It looks like H.R. Geiger surrealism. Yeah. It's really gory, very unsettling imagery. But it's definitely not a horror survival game, if that makes sense. It's very puzzle heavy.
Yeah,
which is not a bad thing. But it also feels like a walking, like an art, like you're a piece of art and you're kind of exploring it. So it's like a walking simulator. It's slow. And it's great when there's games that have they pace you to enjoy and look around at something, but it's very slow. So I don't even know if I'm going to finish it, honestly.
Interesting. It's slow.
It's slow. And it's kind of the whole thing like, okay, it's going to keep my attention. Nothing's really grabbing me to there's no prompt, no nothing, which is not bad. It's environmental storytelling. But there's nothing really driving me to figure out what's going on, if that makes sense.
That's interesting. I mean, you're not even...
So, I might... Huh?
Well, it's so, visually distinct. Like, you would think that it would be...
Yeah, but then but you're so... Once you start playing it, it's like, it kind of... It doesn't... I don't know. The thing that would keep me going is if it kept pushing that boundary of, here's... it does have more disgusting things kind of show up as it go through it. But at the same time, it's not paced enough to make me want to keep going. The puzzles, it's like a whole section can take 30 to 40 minutes to do.
Yeah.
Compared to let's compare it to Stray, for instance. That's a puzzle game. But it had enough things going on visually and action-wise that I kept wanting to play. And it wasn't not necessarily, it wasn't boring. This is, it's borderline boring, if that makes sense. I'm interested. I love this art detail. I love the designs.
Yeah.
We talked about levels, but for me as a player, I'm like, you go ahead.
We talked about this being a vibe game, and it doesn't sound like the vibe is enough to keep you.
Well, the vibe is it's not enough. I mean, as I said, I love it, but then you kind of get, what is it? Not disenfranchised, get numb to it, I guess. And it's kind of like, okay. And one thing I might have mentioned it in one of my recordings, it's like, it's alien to us, but if you start thinking of your character is like, this is normal, if you have that mindset, then it's not really that weird. This setting, it's not a weird place. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This stuff is normal for him or it. It's not, I don't know what gender it is. And so it's like, well, this is not that horrifying. This is normal. It's alien, but that doesn't mean it's not normal. It's just weird. If this was a human doing this stuff, I think it would be more compelling. Having a couple of things like, what is this? Oh my God. That kind of keeps you driving. But there's no dialogue, no nothing. And it's definitely heavy, artistic, pretty creepy, but it's missing a lot of stuff, and I don't know if I'm going to finish it. So I think if I got enough views, more people were like, "Hey, finish it." I might whore myself out and do that. Just for the like. Well, the viewers want more.
Yeah.
But it's for me, it's like if I'm going to play a game, I also record it to show it. I also want to enjoy it. So that's where I am with Scorn. So unless I find out somewhere in an article or review that's like, oh my gosh, wait until this point, it's crazy. I haven't seen a response like that either. So it's unfortunately it's kind of a meh. Once you get past the stuff, but for people that are not used to it, they might think it's creeptastic the entire time. At first, like, okay, what's the way this works? Okay, I'm a little tense, and it's kind of like, okay, all right, whatever, dude. Anyway, so those are the games I've been playing recently.
What you been watching?
Oh, well, I sat down and finally finished Cyberpunk Edgerunners, and it was really, really good. I can see why the game Cyberpunk 2077 has kind of gone back up in the charts.
Yeah,
it made me want to play the game again. They did a really good job of just incorporating locations, guns, just things, costumes, characters. Not necessarily characters that are in the game. Like there's a couple that do show up that are actual characters in the game, but it is the best adaptation of a show thus far. I would say like Castlevania was really good. But this kind of knocked it out of the park for adaptation, or at least kind of connecting the two things together. And one of the things I kept when this came out, people were saying is that they really like the story in that more than the actual game. Which I'm like, yeah, if the game had this story, that would have been awesome. So yeah, I really like Cyberpunk Edgerunners.
I've heard a lot of good things about it. Good. I'm just not into the art style.
Lots of. Yeah, it's different from you liked League of Legends, but it is definitely more anime, but the gore was really good. And the violence, and it was very artistically it did things differently. You can only do in animation. And I really liked it. So I give it a two thumbs up, most definitely. Maybe a third thumb.
A third thumb. Well, good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm at the point where I'm watching 3 really good shows, and I know they're going to be over soon, and I'm sad. Andor, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, and House of the Dragon. It's like we've got 3 great shows, and we go, for months without a good show. Now we got a good show, 3 of them. Andor is so good. I assume you're caught up on it.
Yes, it is.
Oh my God.
This so past good. Week, for all those who are listening to this, we're talking about the Eye episode. That was spectacular. Now, I did finish Ring of Power yesterday. I watched that episode. Yep. Have you watched it yet?
Yep.
All right. So earmuffs for those who haven't watched it. Meh.
Really? Meh for you?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I thought it was fantastic.
I will tell you why. Here's my rant. You want to hear it?
Let's go. Rant it out.
Okay. The episode previous to the last episode felt like they were trying to quickly wrap up things and call it an end, because that felt like the end of the series or the season. And when I saw it, it's like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? Why is this the end of the season? And it's like, oh, there's one more episode. Okay, that's fine. And then we finally, when you have a show called The Rings of Power, we finally see 3 Rings of Power.
Yeah.
At the very end, and it felt too forced on so many things. Like, I'm Sauron, and I'm like, oh my God, really? Like, that was already kind of hinted a long time ago, and I thought it might have been one of the elves for a second, the Forge Master dude. But then it's like, okay, really, this is what we're doing this. Okay, fine. What we didn't get anything last from the dwarves in the last episode. I wish we saw something with the dwarves. We finally finished up the arc with the Harfoots. And it's like, okay, so that's Gandalf. Yep. Figure that out.
But they thought it was Saruman at first. You were like, no.
Well, yeah, it was. Yeah, and they were like, they were trying to make it the Mystics like, look who it is. Which I like the Mystics design when they got to kind of show their true form. Like, ooh, that's pretty cool. Wish we saw more of that. But it felt. And then we see at the very end with Sauron, Halford going back to his kingdom, as it were.
Yeah.
Halbrand. Yeah. Whatever his name is. But it was kind of a letdown. And my biggest beef is don't call it the Rings of Power when we don't see them until the very, very end, and we never even hint at Rings of Power. So it should have not been called Rings of Power. It should have been called The Rise of Sauron, or the Rise of Mordor. That's what this whole series should have been called. And then season 2 would have been about the Rings of Power.
All right, let me. You got your rant out.
So there's now, my rant. Now there's me being a skeptic.
Let me just ask you this question: Were there rings?
Ask.
Were there rings?
There was only 3.
Were there more than one ring? What did you say?
Only 3.
Now, there were multiple rings. The show is called Rings of Power, and the end there were rings of power. There you go.
Yes.
You got your rings of power.
No.
You wanted more. It didn't say 9 rings of power. It didn't say the 9 rings of power. It said rings of power. You got your rings. Shut up. Wait for the next season. Now, here's my beef. Here's my beef.
All right, Bezos.
Now, I love Morph.
Oh, you have beef?
Yes. Morphin Clark, the actress who plays Galadriel, I'm such a huge fan. She hit the tone of that character so well. But here's the thing.
But
this elven badass warrior person has spent her whole life fighting Sauron. It's all she thinks about. The elves are like, look, you need to let the Sauron thing go. Come back over to the Golden Shores or whatever. And she's like, okay, no, I won't. I'll jump off the boat and swim across the ocean just to fight Sauron. And who does she find on the raft but Sauron? And she basically helps Sauron. She creates Sauron, essentially.
Yeah, so, and that's interesting to think about when you like...
Shakespeare level of tragedy for Galadriel.
Yeah.
So like it puts Galadriel in a new light. They meet Galadriel in Lord of the Rings, and she's this ethereal, like godlike elf, and like, yeah, you should feel kind of bad, Galadriel, because we're all in this place because of you. Like, you lost that sword that turned out to be the key that made the thing blow up, and then you got the guy that ended up being Sauron. Way to go. If you had stayed on that boat, none of this would have happened.
Or would it have happened?
It probably would have, because that boy had found that key, and they definitely would have taken it away from that little idiot.
So what was I going to say? I hear you. Yes, I got my rings at the very, very last episode, though. We don't call it Transformers just to have Optimus Prime show up at the last 5 minutes, do we? The last 10 minutes. Oh, it's Transformers, and then we do... No, that's what happens when you make, like, the Friday the 13th part 15, and they do everything up until the last, like, 10 minutes.
It wasn't clear to me.
Or no. It's a Scorpion King move. That's what it is. You have the Scorpion King for 2 seconds at the beginning. Oh, here's the mummy. Okay, we're going to talk about Scorpion King, and then we don't see him until the very end.
It's a transparent way to tee you up for the next season. I get that. It wasn't clear to me what the ring, what is the power of the rings. They have mithril in them, so what? They can heal leaves and stuff?
Yeah.
They didn't explain that at all.
That's the other thing. It's like, did you get powers? That's always the thing that I've always been wondering. Like, okay, these are rings of power. What do they do? What is the magic that they just forged them? Did they put anything else than what those are the Silmarillion jewels? Isn't that what it is?
I have a solution.
That they put.
I have a solution that would have, if they had done this, it would have satisfied both of us. If instead of it being called Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, it should have been called Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power? With a question mark at the end. Right. And then at the end, you'd be like, yeah, I'm just as in the dark about the Rings of Power as I was when I started the show. Can't wait for season 2.
what they needed to do was set it up so that it was Sauron crafting the One Ring at the very last episode. That's what needed to happen. That's what I would have pushed.
Gotta
you
wait.
would have had all the. It would have been all the races like say 3 episodes in, the elves make these 3 rings of power. Then the dwarves like, no, we will make our own rings of power. And then they made their own. And then the men are like, no, we will have ours, which are supposed to be the rings, the One Ring of Power. And Sauron's already been discovered, but it was supposed to be the whole idea that Sauron makes this ring in deception and all this stuff, and he pours his malice and cruelty into it. So the whole idea is like these were all made at the same time, but everyone's, tricked. That's not going to happen. They know what's going to happen. So I don't know how a season 2 is going to work. And I have a colleague at work that we talk about this with, and I'm like, what if they're really doing a Star Trek with this, where they're changing the timeline and it's an alternate timeline than what really happens?
Interesting.
Because the Balrog apparently, like the Balrog's not supposed to be
the
there
Balrog
and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, and then it feels like if this is that Isildur, or did we see if he lived? I thought he was supposed to live in that house. They kind of built it up like he might have survived that fire, but we never got that, did we?
Well, we know he survives, obviously, or else we wouldn't have Isildur's heir.
Right, but or is that, and like they're hinting at that, or is there another Isildur to be named after him?
No, he's got to be Isildur.
Anyway, I don't know. I watched it, I enjoyed it. It was pretty, but the writing and the story arcs were.
I disagree.
So that's my review. What? Because we got the rings finally at the very end.
No, you know what? Because I enjoyed it. I had a good time watching it. I was engaged. I wanted to watch the next one, and they did a great job. It's beautiful.
Yeah, they could have screwed it up. You could have screwed it up. But I will also say it's kind of like how I feel about Transformers. It's gorgeous, but I hate the story.
Yeah, no, that's true.
It's like that's what it is. They didn't made it look pretty, but the story's horrible. What else? House of Dragon. Things are getting spicy. Did you catch up on that one this past week?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm caught up. We'll watch the next one tonight.
Yep. That is tonight of this recording. We got is this the season finale?
Probably.
I can't tell.
Damon's really growing on me. I didn't like him at first, Damon. But every time he smirks, someone says something really serious. He's got that smirk on his face. He's funny. I like him a lot.
What he did this past episode was really nice. I was like, well, you don't have to cut off the tongue anymore.
Yep.
Well, you're right there, David.
That was great.
And then I finally watched Werewolf Within. I enjoyed it. I liked the nods it had to the MCU in the Marvel comics. So I'm interested to see more out of it. It was like, it's a special, so it wasn't a full movie. It was like a one-off episode. So I would hope that this helps lay the groundwork for Blade whenever they finally get that out.
Very cool.
Your thought, you liked Werewolf enough?
Now, I didn't watch Werewolf Within. I watched Werewolf by Night. What's that one on Disney?
That's what I meant. Sorry. I thought it was Werewolf by Night. I don't know where I'm getting Werewolf Within from. What is that?
It's a show. It's a movie.
Okay. I'm sorry, folks. Brain fart. Werewolf by Night. So that was the MCU werewolf movie or show or special. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, now, please correct that.
Now
show notes.
Now we're flipped. I can take all of your animus that you had toward Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, and pour it into Werewolf by Night because I found it to be completely inscrutable.
Pour it in.
I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand why I should care. I was just like, what? My wife liked it. I was just like, what? I fell asleep. I don't know. Didn't hit for me. It's okay.
Didn't hit for you. That's fine. Yeah, I have no idea who the Bloodstones are. I was entertained. I just loved that we had giant sized band things show up. Just one of the more oddity. It's like almost the Swamp Thing of the MCU. Yeah. So, and I was a big Swamp Thing fan when I was a kid. So bring it on, I say. Bring it on.
Okay.
All right. Let's go from there. And instead of giant sized man things and werewolves, let's talk about scariest bosses and enemies from video games.
The scariest
and if you're listening, Yes, the scariest ones. And if you're out there, please send an email to emails@pausebuttongaming.com and tell us what you think your scariest bosses are, your scariest enemies that you've encountered in your video game careers and enjoyment. You want to go one by one? Like I say one and then you say one from your section?
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to start with enemies. We're going to go from enemies and we're going to walk our way up to bosses. Resident Evil 4, and I'm excited because there's going to be the remake coming out in next year, hopefully like January, February. The Regenerators. So I'm trying to keep links in with each character in case you as a listener or you, Bob, have not played or encountered these things, but these things creeped me out. I've played through Resident Evil 4 many times, and they still are not my favorite enemy to encounter because the way they're all for one, they're already a tough enemy to kill because you have to have a special scope to find their heart, and you have to shoot them in the heart. It's like their only weak point because they keep regenerating their limbs and things like that. So you can like shoot their legs off, and then they'll just regenerate. But then they've got these huge teeth, really creepy breathing sound, and that's what I think probably puts me on edge more. Is just they go.
Oh, that reminds me.
And you can hear them. You can hear them quietly, like in the distance, and they get louder. And there's some creepy music that accompanies them. That like so you have the audio cue and the sound cue that they're coming to get you.
Oh yeah.
And they make a weird sound like oh. Well, I can't repeat it. It's like some sort of like manipulated sound effect when you shoot them, and they're just creepy and a pain in the butt. So I hate those enemies.
I've got 4.
Now, how did that
What's that?
Yeah. You said it was reminded you of something?
I added something to one of my lists, and I've got 4. I'm going to go from least creepy to most creepy. And actually,
you're gonna build it up.
These first 2 aren't creepy so much as when you see them the first time, they kind of fill you with either awe or dread. And in Horizon Zero Dawn, the Thunderjaw, I remember riding across the plain on my new what's that thing? It's not a horse. What's that thing that you ride?
The ram?
Yeah, whatever it is. I'm right.
Yeah.
First playthrough at Horizon Zero Dawn, I'm riding through and I'm like, oh, I've got this thing now. I can actually go fast. So I'm riding around and I go into an area I really shouldn't be in, and I see a Thunderjaw in the distance. And you're like, wow, it's so big. I'll never fight one of those. And then you fight them all the time. Same with the Scorcher. Yep. Scorchers are so aggressive and big and powerful. Like you see, like if you know you have to fight a Scorcher, it's just like, okay, deep breath. And it's the same way I felt when I saw the Astral Spike in Control. Do you remember the Astral Spike? It's like a black.
I'm trying to remember what that looked like.
It's like a black sphere that's moving and changing shape constantly, and it's totally creepy looking.
Yeah, very creepy. Yeah, it's just like an anomaly.
Yeah, like an anomaly
around and destroying space.
Yeah, and you see it, and you're like, oh, I don't want. And they chase you. There's some moments where you have to kind of run between them, and they chase you, and you're just like, you're not looking back. You're just running. Oh, good feels on those. Good feels.
Yep. Alter Ego. It's funny when there's games you play and you don't ever know what the name of the enemy is. So I had to look it up because this thing is called an alter ego.
What's scary looking?
And it's essentially like it's in the game Evil Within. And the thing is basically like 2 creatures kind of pushed together in a body. And it's creepy because, and again, I guess it's a sound thing that can be unnerving. It's that whole combination, but they go like they have that kind of low, weird moan sound. And there's a whole section of the game which is just lots of them. They're very strong. They're slow, but they can kind of overrun you if you're not prepared. So it's kind of like the death sound that's creepy, but also just them walking around. They remind me of it's at the very end of the original The Thing. Kind of part of their face is like the thing coming out of them.
Split face.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. So they're creepy. I hate fighting them. They're almost a reason why I'm like, I dread ever picking up playing Evil Within again, but it's such a good game. Such a good creepy game. So yeah, it's very rare that there's critters or creatures that kind of get under my skin, and I dread those parts of the game.
That's when a game designer's done a good job, is when you feel that. You know, it's great.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, that's in Elden Ring, the putrid tree spirit, which I know you fought several of those. And then those hands, this is what I wrote down when you mentioned the hands. They're like spiders, basically, but they're giant hands. Yeah. There's little ones and there's big ones. Yep. And even when I'm completely OP in Elden Ring and I'm running around, if I see one of those hands, I can't get away from it fast enough. I don't want to fight it. I certainly don't want to come into contact with it. They're just so creepy. And those putrid tree spirits they're big, they're powerful and aggressive, and they're just gross. They're nasty looking.
Right.
I hate them. I hate fighting them. And you can't cheese them. There's one you can cheese. There's two I had to just straight out just melee with, and I just gritted my teeth through it. And I felt awesome when I beat him, but just like, I got to beat this guy. Don't want to.
Yeah, no, I get it. Dead Hand from Zelda Ocarina of Time. For a game that's not necessarily a horror game, because I've seen, like, it's interesting when you have horror elements in a game that's not horror at all. This knocks it out of the park. I remember playing this as a teen when it came out because I loved Ocarina of Time. It's one of my favorite games of all time. There's a whole section where you have to fight this hunched over, like, barely human monster thing with a giant maw. And he's also got these hands that he controls that pop out of the ground and attack you as, like, Kid Link. So not only is, and you could even chop it up to, okay, you're a kid. Kid Link sees things a lot more horrifying because you're a child. But this thing's creepy. It just kind of shambles towards you very slowly, and it doesn't make any weird sounds, and then you have to fight it. It's easy to defeat. It's just creepy, and I hate. And you're underground, no light, dark, so it's like, why?
It's so cool because that game is very, the graphics are very basic, and yet even like Elden Ring, these things are highly detailed, these incredibly detailed models. These things have, like, I don't know, like maybe 30 polygons on them, and they manage to be super creepy.
Yeah, and that's all you need sometimes.
Those hands reaching up from the ground. Oh.
Yes.
For my second to most creepy is the grounded wolf spider, which we talked about a little bit. And I think I said even now when I can two-shot him, man, if I'll sneak up behind him and hit him just 2 times real quick. I do not want to go toe-to-toe with them. They're just so creepy. And then they die. Then they die, and they flip on their back, and their legs curl up like a dead spider, right? And
ooh, that's creepy.
It is creepy. And then you have to go up to it, and you have to tap on it, but touch it, essentially, to get its parts, because you get the fang, and you get the spider parts that you can use to craft things. And I dread it every time. I have to walk up to this thing, and its body kind of falls apart. I'm like, I got to go down there and get... Even though I cheesed it and shot it with a bow or whatever, I got to go down there and touch those legs. Oh, it's great.
Oh, man. My last kind of typical enemy, it's one of the rarer enemies, but in the original Dead Space 2, I forget if it shows up in 3, but they're called Guardians. Basically, imagine a lump of flesh with a kind of a head left to it, but it's a giant mesh of flesh that's on the wall that has these tentacles that will pop out, but then also they will go back inside the big old lump of flesh. And all you hear is this screams of agony.
Very Aliens.
It's just screaming the entire time, not like roar, but like It's like like you want to put it out its misery.
Yeah.
It's very disturbing, and you can hear these things around the corner. And they start throwing the tentacles to attack you, and then they have these little offspring things that will shoot tentacles at you too, and they're just creepy, very unsettling. So I hate when I have to encounter them. So I'm very quick to just get rid of them. Just kill it with fire, destroy it, put it out its misery.
Yeah, they're gross.
I guess a lot of them, it seems like my theme here is anything that just has a creepy sound to it. That's kind of what I'm going for now. It's creepy sound character or enemies I do not like.
Yeah, my last one is in the game Subnautica. In the first one, there are these big open areas of ocean, and when you're out there, you already get this creepy feeling of like being in the big open ocean. You don't know what else is out there, and you'll get a little warning from your little computer, and it'll say there's a leviathan in the area, and these things are so big, they're enormous, and if you're swimming out in the open ocean and you get that, you turn right around. As you get more capable later in the game, you get these big submarines, and the leviathans can attack them, but you still get this feeling of dread being out in the big open ocean and these huge aggressive creatures coming after you. It creates a feeling of dread that you just don't get in very many games.
No. And that's what I like. It's like having something that's very dreadful.
Yeah.
Like, ooh. And so like, all right, y'all did your job. Thanks. Thanks for making me like wanting to stop your game now. All right. Now here we go. Bosses. Mine are in no particular order, but, and two of them are kind of like, I guess, phase area bosses. One of them is another Dead Space. It's called the Hunter. I hated this section, and I always dread it when it comes to playing it in the original Dead Space, so I do not look forward to it in the remake. And this character actually shows back up in Dead Space 2. It's essentially a necromorph that you can shoot off its limbs like you're supposed to, but then it regenerates it. And it will continuously go after you. So the only way you kill it is by basically shooting, getting these rocket thrusters to fire up and obliterate it. So it's chasing you through a whole section of the game relentlessly, and you have to move objects and do like a puzzle while it's chasing you. So, after playing it once or maybe on the second or third time, because I love that game enough, I played through it several times. And it's one of the first hinted tactics. They got better, but you basically need to freeze it, or you shoot off all of its limbs, and then you shoot it with the little the time to I forget what's called, the stasis, so that way it slows down in time, so it can't regenerate fast enough, and you can run away. Run, because you can't kill it, and that's what's annoying. But it's really creepy because it's just going to keep going after you. It's fast, and it will hurt you.
He's creepy, all right.
Let's see. You've got two bosses, you've got like a category.
I have two, but I actually put a second behind. You've got one that was also on my list. So I'm going to wait for you to get to it before I talk about it. I'm going to save my last one for my last comment. But basically, I went through Dark Souls thinking, man, Dark Souls has got so many really scary, creepy bosses, and I couldn't pick one. I couldn't pick one that I thought was the scariest, because like every boss is, I think about Nito Gravelord. He's an example of one that's just gross and creepy and hard. And that's the thing, is that trembling, sweaty controller in your hand, knowing that if you die, you're going to have to go all the way back. And and then that feeling of when you finally do it, Dark Souls gets that right. The whole Souls franchise gets it right. Yeah.
Yeah, that whole feeling of, yes, I beat you. Ha victory. It's a lot of it's mental. But that's what's great about Dark Souls or Souls games, Elden Ring, all that. Well, here's another one. I'm actually surprised. The Xenomorph.
Oh yeah.
Alien Isolation.
Oh yeah.
It's a constant threat. It's a constant boss that pursues you. And spoilers, it's great when you find out that, it's not just one that's hunting you. It's actually been several the whole time. So it's not just like, how does this one keep finding me? No, there's been several of them because there's a whole nest beneath the station. Twist. That was such a great twist. But yeah, that's like it hunting you down, just that constant anxiety. Ugh. Not fun. I mean, it's fun, but sucks.
Yeah, the Rat King was my second one.
Yes.
And what was great about the Rat King,
Part 2.
Yeah, if you're playing it for the first time, you don't know that it's coming. If you haven't spoiled the game for yourself, I mean, that game does not have mini bosses. So it's a little bit of a surprise to find yourself in there with that disgusting like pile of just like parts and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here's what's funny is like my ignorance of 30 some years, I had to look up. There was something. I guess I was listening to something talking about the bubonic plague and talking about rat kings, and I was like, okay, what is this? And it's a whole reference to rats getting their tails all knotted up, and because there's too many of them together, so you have. That would be called a rat king, is when a bunch of rats are together and their tails are all knotted up and they can't get loose. And I'm like, that makes so much sense. And everything from the rat king right back in, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles era, that character, I'm like, okay, that puts a whole new meaning to him. But that boss being called a rat king, like, oh, that makes sense too. Wow. And then the rat king and like the nutcracker, like this makes too much sense now. Why did this was never explained to me? But yeah, that was a creepy boss because there's just all the different cordyceps fungi characters compiled together. Oi,
that's super gross.
Tough boss. Yeah, it was tough, and you're like in the claustrophobic area. Let's see. The 2 Resident Evil ones I also have on here. Marguerite Baker from Resident Evil 7. Just a very gross boss. She is creepy, long-lived. And then she has that whole beehive kind of like in her abdomen. So she has bees pop out and start attacking you. She likes to have spider spindly legs and pop in and out of the areas as you're trying to fight her. And it just takes a while to kill her. So it's just kind of a pain in the butt. And then Resident Evil Village. Definitely one of the creepiest sections I have ever played in a game. Is when you get to the dollhouse. And then there's the baby. Have you seen the baby, Bob?
No. Do you have a link to it?
I don't have a link to it. Look up the baby from Resident Evil 8. Even before I had kids, I hated the sound of
oh god,
babies crying in games. Like Max Payne has those weird dreamlike sequences with the baby, and that drove me nuts. I hated it to the point where I just turned the sound down so I can just get through those stupid levels.
Dude, I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's very unnerving. Yeah. But this takes that up to 11 of unnerving and disturbing. Until I found out, because I ran through it several times. Basically I found the perfect way to avoid it. So it wasn't that bad. And it's like, because you don't have any weapons at this point in the game. They've been taken away from you. And so here's this baby thing crawling after you, and it becomes a whole xenomorph, alien isolation, amnesia, dark descent, hide and seek, cat and mouse thing where you're trying to avoid it.
I'm watching a video of it. It is gross.
Yeah. And if you don't avoid it, it will eat you. Feet first. So that was of all the games of the last couple of years, that's one of those chilling and disturbing bosses. That goes up there. That's actually my number one. I skipped this one. Asphyxia from Silent Hill Homecoming. Just a creepy looking boss. Very much the human centipede of the centipede monster of human centipede type designs from Silent Hill Homecoming, and just creepy boss. Just lots of body parts and arms and limbs. Never played it myself. I just watched Let's Plays, but it was always so creepy. To watch someone else play that. But anyway, so those are mine. So what's your number one? So I would say the baby's my top creepy boss.
I'm trying to get
the game.
Yeah, I'm trying to get. How do I get out of Discord so I can get back? I'm trying to send you this link in Discord.
Uh-oh.
Well, I can't
Discord.
I'm trying to send you a YouTube video of someone fighting the broodmother in Grounded. Because for someone with pretty hardcore arachnophobia, the broodmother took a lot of mental and emotional preparation to go fight. I watched some videos of it. She's a gigantic spider. She's super tough. She spawns other spiders. So there's spiders everywhere. Here, I'll just put the link here in our document.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be,
fellow listeners can watch it.
Yeah, I wanted to be completely overpowered when I fought her, so I wouldn't have to fight her for very long. So I spent a lot of time in game boosting my character, getting maxed out equipment, and buffs and everything to fight her. And it's the same as the wolf spider. It's just like you're just kind of gritting your teeth as you're swinging away at this thing.
Oh, yeah, it's got the babies coming out too. Ooh, that's even creepy. Yep. No, spiders are always creepy. So anything that's spider-like, that'll get you. Oof. No, I do not envy. I can see, if you have really bad arachnophobia. I don't like spiders. I can actually handle this probably. Like this, even the spiders in Skyrim don't even bother me that much. They make the little chittering sounds a little creepy, but not so bad. But that is pretty creepy.
They bug me. They bug me.
Right. They bug you, but they're not the bugs. They're arachnids. All right. Well, thanks for listening to Pause Button. Like, subscribe, follow on YouTube and on the Apple Podcasts store.
And send us your thoughts, ideas, and reactions to emails at pausebuttongaming.com. Have a great weekend, and don't forget, when life gets hectic, sometimes you need to hit the pause button.